A tiny Mustang FO stands trembling in the vast Montana wilderness, barely days old and completely alone. His mother is nowhere to be seen, lost during a sudden mountain storm. The foal's legs wobble beneath him as he struggles to remain standing, his large eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of his herd. But what approaches instead sends terror through his small body. A pack of wolves, led by a battle car Alpha, emerging from a tree, and with hungry, calculating eyes, the wolves move with deadly precision. Knowing this defenseless newborn has no chance of escape, as they close in for the kill, something extraordinary happens. A massive black stallion, mysterious, scarred, and completely wild, charges into the clearing like a force of nature. Against all natural instincts, this lone stallion places himself between the wolves and the helpless FO, challenging the entire pack in a display of protection that defies explanation. What follows is the remarkable journey of an orphan FO and his unlikely guardian as they navigate the dangers of the wild together: territorial herd conflicts, relentless predators, human interference, and a devastating drought that threatens the entire valley ecosystem. Quick pause before we continue. Tell us, where in the world are you watching from? If you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit subscribe, because tomorrow's episode is absolutely mind-blowing. The sun casts its golden rays across Sage Valley as dawn breaks over Montana wilderness. A herd of wild Mustangs grazes peacefully, their silhouettes dark against the rising sun. Among them, a chestnut mare named Willow nuzzles her newborn FO Zephyr, who stands on wobbly legs. His coat gleams with the soft fuzzy youth, his eyes bright with curiosity. The spring brings new life to the valley. Ranger Matthew Johnson remarks, lowering his binoculars, that FO can't be more than 2 days old. Drive. Isabella Garcia nods, scribbling in her notebook. Willow is a good mother. Second foal in 3 years. She'll keep him close to Ranger's watch. From their observation post documenting the natural rhythms of the wild horse sanctuary miles away at the edge of their territory, another figure observes the herd. A solitary black stallion, scarred and powerful obsidian, as the locals call him, keeps his distance from other Mustangs, his past shrouded in mystery. The peaceful morning doesn't last. Dark clouds gather over White Pine Mountains, rolling in with unexpected speed. The wind picks up, carrying the scent of rain and electricity. The herd's leader, Atlas, tosses his head nervously. Storms coming. Atlas's when he warns the herd move to higher ground. The mare Willow nudges her. Oh, stay close, Zephyr. Don't fall behind. The FO stumbles alongside his mother as rain begins to fall. Zephyr has never experienced a storm before. Thunder cracks overhead, and the frightened fall rears back, losing his footing on the suddenly muddy ground. Mama, Zephyr calls as he falls. Zephy. Willow calls back, try to reach him, but the herd is moving too quickly, pushing her forward. The downpour intensifies. The normally peaceful clear water creek swells rapidly, cutting off the route between mother and FO. Zephyr, disoriented and scared, scrambles up the wrong bank and stumbles deeper into the wilderness. Up in their ranger station, Matthew peers through the rain-streaked window. This is bad. Flash flood warnings all through the valley. The herds know where to go. Isabella reassures him. They survive storms for generations. As the storm passes, Willow searches frantically for her FO, calling out repeatedly, "My baby is missing." She whinnies to Atlas, "I have to find him." Atlas paws the ground nervously. "We can't go back. The creek is too dangerous. We'll search when the waters recede." But Willow won't wait. She breaks away from the herd, following the creek's edge, calling desperately for her FO. Miles away, Zephyr huddles beneath a rocky overhang, his small body shivering from cold and fear. The storm has passed, but the FO is hopelessly lost, his thin legs caked with mud. "Mama," he calls weakly, his voice lost in the vast wilderness. Morning comes again. Zephyr ventures out hungry and frightened. He tries to graze, but hasn't yet learned how to tear grass effectively. His inexperienced attempts yield little nourishment. Near a ridge overlooking Eagle Ridge Road, the alpha wolf raises his head. A distinctive scar runs down his muzzle, evidence of battles won and territory claimed. His mate Lyra approaches silently. The storm has separated a FO from its herd. Road growls. "Softly I caught its scent near the eastern valley." Lyra's ears twitch, for our pups need food. The heavy rains have driven away the deer. Flynn, a younger wolf, approaches eagerly. A FO would feed the whole pack. Rogue nods. "We hunt at dusk." The day passes slowly for the lost FO. Zephyr wanders aimlessly, his calls for his mother growing weaker. As the sun begins to set, he finds himself in an open meadow, exposed and vulnerable. Miles away, Obsidian, the lone black stallion, lifts his head. Something in the wind catches his attention, the scent of a young FO, and more alarmingly, wolves on a hunt. His ears flick forward, muscles tensing beneath his midnight coat. Ranger Matthew adjusts his radio base station, We got reports of wolf activity near Sector 5, possible predation. Event imminent. Do not interfere. Comes a crackled response. Natural predation is part of the ecosystem management plan. Matthew sigh, exchanging glances with. Isabella, nature can be cruel, but necessary, she responds, though her voice betrays her conflict. The wolf population is finally recovering as dusk settles over the valley. Zephyr realizes he's not alone. Shapes move in the tall grass-gray shadows. With gleaming eyes, the wolf pack has found him. He's alone. Flint growls, no herd to protect him. Rogue steps forward, his scarred face catching the last rays of sunlight. Circle wide, don't let him bolt. Zephyr's heart pounds wildly. Instinct tells him to run, but his legs are weak from hunger and exhaustion. He backs away slowly, a frightened whimper escaping his throat. Mama, help me. He cries out, but his mother is too far to hear. The wolves close, and methodically, Ivory, the white-coated female, blocks his path. To the east, Flint circles. To the west, Rogue and Lyra approach directly, their movements synchronized from countless hunts. It will be quick, Lyra promises, not out of mercy, but efficiency. Zephyr trembles, his legs nearly buckling beneath him. The wolves are only yards away now, their hungry eyes fixed on their prey. Rogue crouches, muscles tensing for the final lunge, and the ground begins to vibrate. A rhythmic pounding grows louder, powerful hooves driving against earth with tremendous force. Over the ridge comes a streak of darkness, moving with impossible speed. Obsidian, the black stallion, charges into clearing like a force of nature. His eyes burn with wildness, his scarred body a testament to battles fought and survived. He thunders between the wolves and the FO, rearing up to his full height, hooves slashing through the air. Back, the stallion's challenge rings across the meadow. Rogue snarls, backing slightly, but not retreating. This is not your herd. Leave us to our hunt. Obsidian stamps, shaking his powerful head. The FO is under my protection. Now the wolves hesitate, circling wider. They've never seen a stallion protect a FO that wasn't his own. There are 4 of us. Flint growls, one of you, then come. Obsidian challenges, positioning himself squarely before the trembling. Oh, see if your pack leaves with all its members. Zephyr watches in awe as the massive stallion defends him. Something stirs his memory. The same dark coat. He'd glimpsed him afar when safe with his mother and heard the mysterious loner that even Atlas respected from a distance. Rogue makes his decision with a snarl. He lunges at Obsidian's flank. The stallion spins with surprising agility, his back hose connecting squarely with the wolf's shoulder. The impact sends Rogue tumbling across the ground. Lyra attacks, next trying to dart around Obsidian to reach the FO. The stallion wheels, teeth bared, catching her by the scruff with a powerful toss of his head. He throws her aside. The wolves regroup, circling more cautiously. Now blood trickles from Rogue's shoulder. We need this kill. Lyra growls, our pups hunger, find other prey. Obsidian responds, never taking his eyes off the wolves. As FO is not yours to take. The standoff continues as darkness falls. Eventually, Rogue makes a sound deep in his throat. With reluctance, the pack begins to back away. This isn't finished. The alpha wolf promises before disappearing into the shadows. With his pack's silence, falls over the meadow. Zephyr's legs finally give out, and he collapses into grass, exhausted and overwhelmed. Obsidian turns to regard the tiny FO's expression, unreadable. Why? Zephyr asks weakly, why did you save me? The stallion doesn't answer immediately. He lowers his head, sniffing FO. Carefully, can you walk? He finally asks, his voice deep and rough from disuse. Zephyr struggles to his feet. I think so, but I don't know where to go. I lost my mama and my herd. Obsidian looks toward the direction the wolves disappeared. They'll be back by morning with more from their pack. We can't stay here. Will you help me find my mother? Zephyr asks, hope flickering in his eyes. The stallion's expression remains stern. First, we survive the night. Follow me. As Obsidian leads away into the shelter of the trees, Zephyr stumbles after him, his small body pushed to its limits, but his spirit clinging to this unexpected salvation. In the darkness of the forest, the stallion pauses, looking back at the struggling FO. Something stirs in Obsidian's memory. Another time, another FO in danger. His scars seem to ache with the way of the past stay close. He tells Zephyr gruffly, the wolves aren't the only danger in these woods. Under the light of the rising moon, an unlikely pair makes their way through the wilderness, a battle-card stallion and a newborn FO bound together by circumstance and something deeper that neither yet understands telling. And preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Dawn breaks over the forest, its light filtering through the thick pines. Zephyr wakens with a start, momentarily confused by his surroundings. He's nestled against a fallen log in a small clearing, sheltered from the wind. Obsidian stands nearby, his dark form vigilant and imposing. You're awake. The stallion observes we need to keep moving. Zephyr struggles to his feet, his small body stiff from the cold night I'm. Hungry, he whimpers. Obsidian surveys the clearing. There's grass here. You need to learn to graze properly. My mother was teaching me. Zephyr says, his voice small. With remembered loss, the black stallion nudges him toward a patch of tender grass. Watch me. He instructs, demonstrating how to tear the grass effectively. Zephyr mimics the motion, clumsily managing to get some nourishment. At last, back at the Mustang herd's new location, Willow paces anxiously. She hasn't slept, her eyes scanning the horizon constantly for any sign of her. Oh, you need to rest. Eris, the elderly mare, advises her. You won't help your little one by exhausting yourself. I can't rest while he's out there alone. Willow replies, her voice breaking the wolves. Atlas approaches his presence, commanding respect. I've sent Comet and Lily to search the eastern valley. If your FO survived the storm, we'll find him. If Willow challenges, eyes flashing, my son is alive, I would know if he wasn't. Meanwhile, on Eagle Ridge Range, Matthew adjusts his spotting scope, scanning the wilderness. Methodically, any sign of the separated FO? Isabella asks, joining him with 2 steaming mugs of coffee. Matthew shakes his head. Nothing yet, but I did spot something interesting. That lone black stallion we've been tracking has changed his pattern. He's moving with purpose now, not wandering. Isabella takes the scope, adjusting it slightly. That's unusual. Obsidian hasn't approached any herd since we began monitoring him 2 years ago. I've got a theory, Matthew says, accepting the coffee. But it sounds crazy. Try me. What if he found FO? What if he's protecting it? Isabella raises an eyebrow. That would be extraordinary behavior for a lone stallion. They typically only protect their own offspring within a herd structure. Nature constantly surprises us. Matthew replies, that's why we're here down. In the valley, Obsidian leads Zephyr through the wilderness, choosing paths that provide cover while moving steadily toward higher ground. The FO tries to keep pace, his strength gradually returning after feeding. Where are we going? Zephyr asks, stumbling over a fallen branch away from the wolf territory. Obsidian answers curtly, their hunting grounds extend to the lower valley. But my mother and my herd were by the creek. Zephyr protests. Shouldn't we look for them? There the stallion stops, fixing to eat FO with his intense gaze. After the storm, your herd would have moved to higher ground. The creek would be dangerous. Now you know my herd. Hope flickers in Zephyr's eyes. I know all the herds in this valley. Obsidian responds, I watch. From a distance, why don't you join them? The FO asks innocently. Don't you get lonely? Something flashes in the stallion's eyes, pain, memory. Or perhaps both. He doesn't answer, instead nudging Zephyr forward. Keep moving. We're exposed here near Clearwater Creek, now receded to normal. Levels Rogue leads his wolf pack along the muddy banks. Lyra limps, slightly still recovering from her encounter with Obsidian. The stallion scent leads North Flint. Reports nose to the ground. The FO is still with him. Rogues. Scarred face twists with determination. He can't protect the FO forever. Sooner or later he'll need to sleep to graze. That's when we'll strike. Why risk confronting the stallion again? Ivory questions there's other prey. This is about more than hunger. Now Rogue growls, no horse challenges me on my hunting grounds. Without consequences, back at Harmon Ranch, which borders the wild horse sanctuary. George Walker inspects his fences, frowning at the damage from the recent storm. These need fixing today, he tells his ranch hand. Can't have my cattle wandering into predator territory. His daughter Haley approaches on horseback. Dad, I just got a call from Ranger Johnson. They've spotted wolf activity near our northern boundary. George's expression darkens again. That's the 3rd time this month. It's their territory, too. Haley reminds him they were here long before our cattle. Tell that to the 3 calves we lost last season. George retorts, if those wolves come onto our land, Dad. Haley interrupts firmly. Remember our agreement with the conservation program? We don't take matters into our own hands. George sighed heavily. I know, called Johnson back, telling to keep me updated by midday. Obsidian and Zephyr reach a small plateau overlooking the valley. The stallion finally slows, allowing the exhausted FO to rest from this vantage point. They can see for miles the winding creek, the vast grasslands, and in the distance the scattered dots of grazing cattle near Harmon Ranch. Look, Zephyr exclaims, suddenly horses. Is that my herd? Obsidian narrows his eyes, focusing on the distant figures. No, he says after a moment, those are ranch horses, domestic, not your kind. How can you tell from so far away? Zephyr asks, impressed the way they move. Obsidian explains, wild horses are always alert, always ready. Those horses move differently. They depend on humans. The FO looks up at a protector curiously. How do you know so much about humans again? That shadow passes over Obsidian's expression. He turns away. Scanning the horizon, will rest here briefly. Then continue east, there's a high meadow where we can spend the night, where we find my mother tomorrow, Zephyr presses, not noticing the stallion's discomfort. Perhaps Obsidian answers noncommittally, but first you must learn to survive. The wild doesn't forgive weakness. As the day progresses, Willow continues her desperate search for her FO. She's crossed the creek where they were separated, following any trace of scent that might lead her to Zephyr. Willow Lily calls, approaching with, "Comet, you shouldn't be out here alone. Atlas sent us to bring you back. I'm not returning without my FO." Willow insists we search the Eastern Valley. Comet reports no sign of him, but he hesitates. But what Willow demands, "We found wolf tracks." Lily says gently, "A hunting pack following something small." Willow's heart constricts with fear. "No, he's alive. I would know if he wasn't." She looks to the horizon, determination hardening her features. "Which way were the tracks?" "Heading north toward White Pine Mountains." Comet answers, "But Willow, the wolves then?" "That's where I'm going," she declares, breaking into a gallop before they can stop her in their observation post. Ranger Matthew reviews the data from the tracking collars they place on several wolves in Roga's pack. "That's strange," he murmurs, studying the movement patterns. "The pack is moving north away from their usual hunting grounds, following something." Isabella suggests, leaning over his shoulder, or someone. Matthew replies, "They're following almost the exact path our satellite imagery showed." The black stallion, taking Isabella's eyes, "Widen your crazy theory. Might not be so crazy after all." As evening approaches, Obsidian leads Zephyr the high meadow. He spoke, protected by rocky outcroppings on three sides. It offers both grazing and security. The FO collapses gratefully onto the soft grass, his legs trembling with exhaustion. "You did well today," Obsidian says. "The closest thing to praise he's offered your strength is improving." Zephyr beams at the rare compliment. "Will you tell me a story? My mother always told me stories before sleep." The stallion seems taken aback by the request. He pours at the ground uncomfortably. "I don't know any stories." "Everyone knows stories," Zephyr insists. "Please, just one." Obsidian looks at the foe's pleading eyes, and something shifts in his stern demeanor. He settles down beside Zephyr, his massive form dwarfing the tiny, though once he begins hesitantly. "There was a young stallion born into a strong herd. He was fast and proud, and when he was old enough, he challenged other stallions for the right to lead his own herd." Zephyr listens, enthralled by the unexpected story. "One day, this stallion led his herd too close to human lands. He was young and didn't understand the danger." Obsidian's voice grows distant, his eyes fixed on something beyond the horizon. "The humans came with their ropes and their metal boxes on wheels. They chased the herd for miles, separating them, capturing them one by one." "What happened to the stallion?" Zephyr asks, his voice small. "He was captured along with his entire herd." The humans put a metal bar in his mouth and a weight on his back. They used pain to teach him to obey. Obsidian's muscles tense at the memory. For 2 years, he lived in a small space, surrounded by wooden poles, no room to run, barely room to turn. How did he escape? Zephyr asks, somehow knowing this was part of the story. "One night, during a storm much like the one that separated you from your mother, lightning struck the wooden poles in confusion. He broke free. He ran for days, hiding from humans, until he found these mountains." Obsidian looks down at the FO. "He vowed never to be captured again, never to lose his freedom, and he vowed to stay away from other horses, so they would never share his fate." Realization dawns in Zephyr's eyes. The stallion in the story is you. Obsidian doesn't confirm or deny it. He simply rises to his feet. "Sleep now. Tomorrow we'll test your strength again." As darkness falls, Zephyr curls up against Obsidian's warm flank, falling into an exhausted sleep. The stallion remains awake, his ears constantly moving, alert to any danger that might approach in the night miles below in the Valley Rogue, and his pack follow the trail by moonlight, their determination undiminished. And to the west, Willow continues her desperate search, calling for her foe as she heads toward the mountains, where her maternal instinct tells her Zephyr still lives on a ridge above them, all unseen in the darkness. A mountain lion watches the various movements with predatory interest, adding yet another danger to the already precarious situation unfolding in the wilderness. Morning light spills over the high meadow, illuminating Zephyr. Curled against Obsidian's side, the FO stirs, blinking away sleep for a moment. He imagines he's back with his mother and herd, but reality quickly returns. He's still lost, still dependent on the mysterious black stallion who saved him from the wolves. Obsidian is already awake, his eyes scanning the meadow with unceasing vigilance. "We need to move," he announces, rising to his feet. "I smell danger." Zephyr scrambles up, his legs steadier than before. 2 days of walking have strengthened his young muscles. "Wolves again?" "No." Obsidian replies, nostrils flaring. "Something else, something that hunts alone, hidden in the rocks above them." A Mountain lion crouches, its tory body nearly invisible against a stone. It watches the horses with practiced patience, muscles tense at the perfect moment to strike. Stay close, obsidian. Instructs, moving slowly toward the meadow's edge, no sudden movements. They're halfway across the open space. When a blood-chilling scream echoes from the rocks, the mountain lion launches itself in a powerful arc, aiming directly for Zephyr. Obsidian reacts instantly. Rearing up to meet the attack, his hooves connect. With the big cat's shoulder deflecting its leap, the mountain lion tumbles, but recovers. He quickly circling with dangerous agility. Run, Obsidian commands. Head downhill. Don't stop. Zephyr hesitates, torn between flight and loyalty to the protector. Now the stallion's voice brooks no argument as he positions himself between the FO and the predator. This time, Zephyr bays, bolting toward the tree, and behind him, he hears the terrible sounds of combat. The lion screams, the impact of hooves. The stallions challenging native FO plunges into the forest, heart-pounding fear, driving his legs faster than they've ever moved. He doesn't slow until he reaches a small stream, legs trembling with exhaustion and terror. Only then does he realize his mistake in his panic. He's become separated from Obsidian. Obsidian, he calls tentatively. Then louder. Obsidian, no answer comes except the mocking echo of his own voice. Zephyr is alone again, miles away near Harmon Ranch. Dr. Isabella Garcia and Ranger Matthew Johnson conduct their morning monitoring of the Valley Ecosystem Mountain Lion vocalization, recorded at coordinates 44, 7112. 3 Isabella notes marking the location on their digital map. That's the third hunting attempt we've documented this week. Food chains. Under pressure, Matthew observes, scanning the horizon with binoculars, the drought's pushing everything to the limits. Indeed, the signs of drought are unmistakable. The creek runs lower than usual for spring meadow grasses show yellowing at their base, and wildlife congregates near the dwindling water sources. I'm worried about fire risk. Isabella admits the Forest Service increased the danger level to high yesterday. Matthew lowers his binoculars. Suddenly, hold on, I've got movement at the edge of Sector 7. He adjusts the focus. It's a Mustang mare separated from the herd. Isabella takes her own set of binoculars. That's the foe's mother, Willow. She's still searching 2 days alone in predator territory. Matthew shakes his head. That's dedication. That's motherhood. Isabella corrects, deeper in the forest. Willow follows her instincts, calling periodically for her lost FO. Her coat is scratched from pushing through underbrush, her eyes alert for both signs of her baby and potential dangers. Zaire, she calls her voice, carrying through the trees. Where are you, my little one? A sound makes her freeze, hoof beats fast, and desperate her heart leaps with hope, only to be replaced by caution. When she realizes they're too heavy to be her foss, something large is coming her way. Obsidian bursts through the trees, his dark coat streaked with blood and sweat. He skids to a halt at the sight of Willow, equally surprised by the encounter. Recognition dawns in Willow's eyes. You're the lone stallion, the one they call Obsidian, and you're from Atlas's herd. He responds, breathing heavily. His flank bears fresh claw marks, evidence of his battle with the mountain lion. I'm looking for my FO. Willow says desperately. He was lost in the storm 2 days ago. Have you seen him? A small colt, just days old, with a white star on his forehead. Obsidian's expression changes. Z for Willow's eyes widen. You know his name, you've seen him. I found him. Obsidian confirmed, protected him from wolves. Where is he? Willow demands, her voice rising with emotion. Where is my son? Obsidian's ears flatten. We were attacked by a mountain lion. I told him to run while I fought it off. When I returned to find him, he was gone. Which direction? Willow asks, already turning ready to race toward her baby. He headed downhill toward the eastern ravine. Obsidian answers, but be careful, the wolves are still hunting. I caught their scent again this morning. Willow hesitates, studying the wounded stallion. Why did you help him? He's not your FO, not your responsibility. Something like pain flickers in Obsidian's eyes. No one protected me when I needed it. I couldn't let him die alone. The simple honesty of his answer touches something in Willow. Thank you, she says softly. Will you help me find him now? Obsidian nods once decisively. I know these mountains better than anyone. Follow me. Together they head eastward, following the path Zifa would likely have taken in his panic. Meanwhile, Zifa has wandered into unfamiliar territory. The eastern ravine gradually gives way to a broader valley, where the scent of cattle and hay mingles with the natural smells of the wilderness. Unknowingly, he's approaching the boundary of Harmon Ranch. Frightened and hungry, the FO grazes nervously at the edge of a meadow, his ears constantly swiveling for sounds of danger. The emotional toll of repeated separations weighs heavily on him, dampening his naturally curious spirit. I just want my mother, he whimpers to himself. I want to go home. A rustle in the nearby brush makes him tense, ready to flee. But instead of a predator, a human figure emerges. Haley Walker on her morning ride to check the boundary fences. Well, hello there. she says softly, reining her horse to a stop. "Where did you come from, little one?" Zephyr stares at the human with wide, frightened eyes. He's never seen a person before, nor a domestic horse. With its strange leather contraptions, instinct tells him to run. But exhaustion keeps him rooted to the spot. Haley slowly dismounts, careful to make no sudden movements. "You must be from the wild herd." She murmurs, "You're far from home, aren't you?" She notices the foal's condition, the scrapes from his journey, his thin frame showing signs of inadequate nutrition. Her heart goes out to the lost baby. "You need help, little guy." She decides, slowly removing a rope from her saddle. "I can't leave you out here alone." At the ranch house, George Walker pours his third cup of coffee, studying the weather report with concern. Another week without rain. He tells Ryan Mitchell, the Mustang trainer, who occasionally works with the problem horses on his ranch, "We're going to have to reduce the herd. If this keeps up, not enough grazing to go around." The BLM's already talking about emergency Mustang roundups. Ryan replies, "Too many horses, not enough resources, whole damn ecosystems out of balance." George grumbles, "Too many wolves, too many horses, not enough water." The radio on the counter crackles to life. With Haley's voice, "Dad, you there?" George picks up the handset. "What's up, sweetheart?" "I found a Mustang FO near the east fence," Haley reports. "He's alone, looks only days old. I think he got separated from his herd in the storm." George and Ryan exchange glances. "Can you bring him in?" George asks. "That's the plan. He's too weak to outrun me. Poor little guy, I've got him secured. Now heading back. I'll prepare the small corral." Ryan offers, already moving toward the door. George nods and speaks into the radio again. "Good work, Haley. Be careful bringing him in back in the wilderness." Obsidian and Willow follows Zephyr's trail down the eastern ravine. The stallion's wounds pain him, but he pushes forward. Driven by a sense of responsibility, he doesn't fully understand his tracks lead toward the ranchlands. Obsidian observes grimly. That's dangerous territory. Willow's anxiety increases. "What happens if humans find him? They'll capture him." Obsidian says, his voice hardening, break his spirit, make him forget what it means to be wild like they did to you. Willow realizes, remembering the stories told among the herd about the black stallion's mysterious past. Obsidian doesn't answer, but the scars visible beneath his coat speak volumes. After a moment, he adds, "We need to move faster." Once he's behind their fences, get him out becomes nearly impossible. They quicken their pace, pushing their bodies to the limit. But as they crest a ridge overlooking Harmon Ranch, they see a sight that chills them both. Haley Walker leading her horse, with small FO tethered beside it, Zephy. Willow cries out, recognizing her baby, even at a distance. "We're too late," Obsidian states flatly. "The humans have him." Willow prepares to charge down the hill, maternal instinct overriding caution. "I have to get to him." Obsidian blocks her path. "Stop rushing, and we'll only get you captured too. Then what good are you to your foe?" "I can't just abandon him," Willow protests, eyes wild with desperation. "We won't." Obsidian promises. "But we need a plan, not a suicide charge." At the ranch, Haley leads a reluctant foe into the small corral. Ryan has prepared Zephyr bulks at the sight of the wooden vents, pulling back against the rope around his neck. "Easy, little one." Haley soothes, "This is for your own good." She removes the rope once the gate is secured, and Zephyr immediately retreats to the farthest corner, trembling with fear and confusion. "Poor baby," Haley murmurs. He's terrified. George approaches the corral, studying FO with a practice, who he's definitely Wildorn, probably no more than a week old. "What will happen to him?" Haley asks. "We'll contact Dr. Rivera and Ranger Johnson." Her father replies, "He's technically federal property since he's from protected herd. They'll want to examine him." Ryan leans against the fence. He's young enough to gentle easily, would make a fine ranch horse someday. "That's not our decision." George reminds him the BLM has protocols for orphan foss. Haley watches Zephyr with sympathy. He doesn't look like he feels very rescued right now. He doesn't understand that we're helping him. George says nature is cruel out there. He wouldn't have lasted another day on his own. From their vantage point on the ridge, Willow and Obsidian watch the ranch activity with growing concern. They put him in a small wooden prison. Willow observes, her voice breaking. "My poor baby must be so frightened." Obsidian studies the ranch layout, analyzing potential approaches. An escape routes his past experience with humans, though painful, provides valuable insight. The wooden barrier is called a corral. He explains, "It's where they keep horses. They don't want escaping. There will be guards, humans, and dogs." "Can we break him out?" Willow asks. Obsidian considers this. "Not by day, too many humans around, but night." He pauses, thinking night might give us a chance. "What about the wolves?" Willow asks. "They were tracking you both. They'll be hunting elsewhere by now." Obsidian replies, "They're opportunists. They don't waste energy on prey that's too difficult." As if to challenge his assessment, a howl rises from the forest behind them. Both horses turn to see Rogue standing at the tree, in his scarred face unmistakable. Even at a distance, the alpha wolf stares at them with cold intelligence. Then disappears back into the shadows. You were saying Willow remarks dryly, this complicates things. Obsidian admits the wolves rarely come this close to human territory, unless they're desperate. Willow adds, or seeking revenge. Back at the corral, Zephyr huddles in the corner, overwhelmed by the strange sights, sounds, and smells of the ranch. The wooden barriers around him, so unlike anything in his short experience of the wild, feel suffocating. I want my mother, he whimpers too quietly for the humans to hear. I want Obsidian. The revelation surprises him that he would call for the gruff stallion alongside his mother, but his few days with Obsidian the black horse had become a source of safety and guidance, harsh but dependable. As the sun begins to set, Ranger Matthew's truck pulls into the ranch. He and Dr. Isabella Garcia have come to examine the FO in response to George's "call you to the right thing, contacting us." Matthew tells the rancher as they approach the corral, "We've had reports of a separated FO from the White Pine herd." Isabella kneels beside the corral, observing Zephyr with professional interest. Male, approximately 1 week old, white star marking, matches our records for a FO born to mare called Willow. His mother has been searching for him. Matthew adds, "We've been tracking her movements." Poor thing, Haley says, "Will you reunite them?" Isabella and Matthew exchange glances. "It's complicated," Isabella explains. The mother is deep in Mustang territory now. Taking a domestic exposed fallback would create risks for both of them. So what happens to him? Haley asks. Protocol would be rehabilitation and eventual adoption. Matthew says he's young enough to adapt to domestic life from their hiding place. Willow catches fragments of the human conversation, though she doesn't understand their words, atone, and the continued confinement. Her foe tell her everything she needs to know. They're not going to release him. She tells Obsidian they're going to keep him prisoner, like they did to you guys. Obsidian's jaw tightens. "Then we have no choice tonight. We break him out." How? Willow asks. "You said yourself the barriers are strong. They are." Obsidian confirms. "But I escaped once before. I know their weaknesses." He turns to face her directly. "It will be dangerous. The humans have weapons that can strike from a distance, and the wolves are still out there." "I don't care about the danger," Willow says firmly. "He's my son. I would die for him." Obsidian nods, understanding in his eyes. "And we wait for darkness, and we bring Zephyr home." As night falls over Harmon Ranch, three forces converge on the small corral at its eastern edge. Two desperate horses determined to rescue one of their own, a pack of wolves with an old score to settle, and humans who believe they're acting in the best interest of a helpless foe. The stage is set for a collision that will change all their lives forever. Night settles over Harmon Ranch, stars emerging in a clear Montana sky. The day's heat lingers in the earth, promising another scorching day. Tomorrow in the small corral, Zephyr lies curled in the corner, too frightened to eat the hay. Haley provided the strange smells and sounds of the ranch overwhelm his senses. The sharp odor of diesel from the tractors, the unfamiliar sense of the domestic horses, and the alarming smell of music. Humans inside the ranch house. George Walker sits at his kitchen table with Ranger Matthew and Dr. Isabella Garcia, discussing the FO's future. The drought's forcing our hand on herd management. Matthew explains, spreading a map across the table. "Even without this orphan foe, we were facing tough decisions." Isabella nods in agreement. The Bureau wants a 20% reduction in Mustang numbers across the region. The ecosystem simply can't support current populations with these water shortages, so roundups are coming. George concludes, leaning back in his chair. "Schedule for next month," Matthew confirms. "But this situation with the FO complicates and things." Haley, who has been listening from the doorway, steps into the kitchen. "Why not just take him back to his herd? His mother is still searching for him." Isabella sighs. "It's not that simple. The FO has now been exposed to humans, and domestic horses reintroduction carries risks, disease transmission, behavioral issues. There are protocols we have to follow." "So what happens to him?" Haley presses. "He'll be transported to the Wild Horse Conservation Center tomorrow." Matthew answers, "They'll assess his health, then place him in their adoption program. He'll never be wild again." Haley says softly. Her father places a hand on her shoulder. "He'll have a good life, sweetheart, better than starving in a drought-stricken valley or becoming wolf food outside in the darkness." Obsidian and Willow approach the ranch boundaries cautiously. The black stallion moves with surprising stealth for his size, guiding Willow through the shadows. "The humans will have dogs," he warns quietly. "We need to stay downwind." Willow follows his lead, her maternal instinct overriding her natural fear of human. "Space is there," she whispers, spotting the corral where Zephyr is kept. "I can see him." Obsidian assesses the situation tactically. The corral stands about 50 yards from the main house, where a light still burns in the windows. A larger stable housing the ranch horses sits nearby, and beyond at the equipment barn, the ranch dogs, 2 border collies, are thankfully inside for the night. The barrier has a gate. Obsidian explains it's held closed by a metal loop over a post. "I'll need to lift it with my teeth." "You've done This before Willow realizes once. Obsidian confirms grimly during my escape. They wait patiently as the lights in the ranch house gradually go out one by one. Only when the property falls into relative darkness do they make their move, approaching the corral with careful steps. Inside, Zephyr lifts his head, suddenly catching a familiar scent on the breeze. Mother. He calls softly, rising to his feet. Willow's heart leaps at the sound of her foe's voice. Zephyr, I'm here. The reunion at the corral fence is bittersweet, so close yet separated by the wooden barrier. Zephyr presses against the rails, stretching his neck to touch noses with his mother. I knew you'd find me, he whimpers. I was so scared I would never stop looking for you, Willow assures him, then glances at Obsidian. We're going to get you out of here. Obsidian moves to the gate, examining the metal latch. It's a simple mechanism, but designed for human hands, not horse teeth. He positions himself carefully, then stretches his neck over the top rail, grasping the metal loop in his teeth on. The ridge overlooking the ranch rogue watches with cold calculation. Beside him, Lyra and the rest of the pack wait for his signal. The horses are distracted. Flint observes it's the perfect opportunity. Patience. Rogue growls. Let them free the FO first. Less work for us back at the corral. Obsidian struggles with the gate latch. After several attempts, he manages to lift it clear of the post with a nudge of his powerful head. He pushes the gate open. Zephyr doesn't hesitate, rushing to his mother's side. Their reunion is quick but intense. Necks entwined, Willow nuzzling every inch of her FO to assure herself he's unharmed. We need a move. Obsidian interrupts, eyeing the darkened ranch house. Any noise could wake the humans. Thank you, Willow says sincerely. I would never have found it without you. Something softens briefly in Obsidian's stern gaze, but the moment is cut short by a sudden bark from the house. One of the ranch dogs is woken and sense their presence. Run. Obsidian commands, stay together, head for the eastern ridge. The three horses bolt just as lights flicker on in the ranch house. George Walker's voice calls out, What is it, Bandit? What do you hear? Obsidian leads away, his black coat nearly invisible in the darkness. Willow runs beside him, Zephyr keeping pace on her other side. They've almost reached the tree when the ranch's floodlights blast on, illuminating the yard in harsh white light. The foe's gone. Haley's voice carries across the night. Dad, someone's taken him. Not someone, something, George responds, grabbing his rifle from beside the door. Those are Mustangs. Obsidian increases his pace faster. The trees will give us cover. They plunge into the forest. Just as a warning shot cracks through the air, the bullet strikes a tree well above their heads, not meant to hit, only to frighten, but it spurs them to greater speed. Keep running. Obsidian instructs, don't stop until you reach the ridge. Willow notices he's fallen behind, slightly favoring his left front leg. The mountain lion's claw marks on his flank have reopened, dark blood glistening on his coat. You're injured, she calls back. Keep moving. He insists, I'll be fine. They climb higher into the foothills, the sounds of the ranch shouting. Humans, barking, dogs fading behind them. Zephyr, despite his youth, keeps up remarkably well adrenaline, giving his small legs extra strength. When they finally pause on a rocky overlook, all three are breathing hard. Below them, flashlight beams dance among the trees as the humans begin a half-hearted search. They won't follow far. Obsidian assesses, not at night, not into the hills. We did it, Willow says, still hardly believing their success. We're free. Their relief is short-lived. A low growl emanates from the darkness. Behind them, Rogue steps into a patch of moonlight, followed by his pack. No longer 4 wolves, but 8. He must have called in reinforcements from a larger pack. Did you think I would give up so easily? The alpha wolf snarls, that I will forget your challenge. Obsidian pushes Willow and Zephyr behind him, take the FO, and run along the ridge line. I'll hold them here. There are too many. Willow protests. They'll tear you apart. Better me than your son. Obsidian replies grimly, now go. Willow hesitates only a second before nudging Zephyr forward. Run, my little one. His mother and FO gallop along the ridge. Obsidian faces the wolf pack alone. His wounds pain him, but he stands tall, hooves planted firmly on the rocky ground. This ends tonight. Rogue growls, circling to Obsidian's right. Yes, Obsidian agrees. It does. The wolves attack as when a coordinated assault born of countless hunts. Obsidian rears and strikes with his front hooves, catching one wolf squarely in the chest. He spins to kick with his back legs, connecting with another, but there are too many teeth. Find purchase on his flanks, his neck, his legs. The stallion fights with everything he has, but the outcome seems inevitable. He's outnumbered, wounded, exhausted from the rescue. As Rogue prepares for the killing lunge, a new sound cuts through the night. The thundering of hooves, many hooves approaching fast over the ridge. Comes Atlas, the lead stallion of Willow's herd, followed by several young stallions, including Comet. They've been tracking Willow for days, and now they charge. Into the melee without hesitation, the sudden reinforcement shifts the balance. The wolves, already bloodied from Obsidian's fierce defense, scatter before this new threat. Rogue stands his ground longest, meeting Atlas's challenge with defiant snarls. But even he eventually retreats, disappearing into dark forest, with his pack. Obsidian stands amid the chaos, blood streaming from multiple wounds, legs trembling with exhaustion. He regards Atlas with weary respect. "You came," he says, "simply. Willow is part of my herd." Atlas responds, her FO is under my protection. A tense moment passes between the two stallions, one the established leader, the other a lone challenger who has proven his worth. But this is not the time for dominance contest. The wolves will regroup. Obsidian warns, "We should keep moving." Atlas nods in agreement. Together, the horses continue along the ridge, reuniting with Willow and Zeph, who wait anxiously ahead. The reunion between Willow and her herd is emotional, but brief. There will be time for longer greetings later when they're safe from pursuit. We need to reach open ground by dawn. Atlas decides the wolves are less likely to attack in daylight with a full herd present as they travel through the night. Zephyr stays close to his mother, but repeatedly glances at Obsidian. The black stallion moves stiffly, his injuries evident with each step, yet he maintains a vigilant guard position at the back of the group. "Will Obsidian come with us to the herd?" Zephyr asks his mother. Willow looks back at the solitary stallion. "I don't know. He's lived alone for a long time, but he saved me." Zephyr insists, "He taught me how to survive. He's my friend." Morning finds him in a high meadow, reunited with the rest of Atlas's herd. The mares cluster around Willow and Zephyr, whickering softly and welcome Iris. The elderly mare examines the foe with motherly concern. "You've had quite an adventure," she tells him, "but you're home now." Zephyr accepts the attention happily, but his eyes frequently stray to the edge of the herd, where Obsidian stands apart, uncertain of his place in the social order. Atlas approaches the black stallion. "Your wounds need attention." He observes the old mare, knows which plants help with healing. "I'll be fine." Obsidian responds stiffly. "I survived worse, no doubt." Atlas acknowledges, "But you don't have to face it alone this time." Back at Harmon Ranch, the morning brings frustration, and concerned George inspects the open corral gate, frowning at the clear hoof prints leading away into the forest. "I've never seen wild horses do something like this," he tells Ranger Matthew, who arrived shortly after receiving the call. "Breaking into a corral to free a captive foe. It doesn't make sense." Matthew studies the tracks with professional interest. The large hoof prints here, they match the stallion. "We've been tracking the one. The locals call Obsidian a wild stallion freed." The FO George sounds skeptical. "That goes against everything we know about Mustang behavior. Nature constantly surprises us." Matthew replies, echoing his earlier words to Isabella. Dr. Isabella Garcia kneels to examine something in the dirt. "There's blood here," she notes, "and these prints along the perimeter." Wolf tracks wolves this close to the ranch. George's expression darkens. "That a problem? The drought is pushing predators into new territories." Isabella explains they're desperate for food. Haley joins him, her face showing mixed emotions. "So the FO might be back with his mother now, possibly." Matthew confirms, "We can check the tracking data on the mare if they've reunited us against protocol, but it might be the best outcome for both of them and the conservation plan." George asks the herd reductions. Matthew sigh heavily. "Still necessary. I'm afraid the ecosystem can't support the current numbers, especially with this drought. We're just postponing the inevitable." In the high meadow, Obsidian finally allows Iris to examine his wounds. The old mare directs younger herd members to gather specific plants, which she crushes between her teeth and applies to the worst injuries. "You have lived a hard life," she comments, noting the older scars beneath the fresh wounds. "A free life." Obsidian corrects her, "Are the two always in opposition?" Iris asks wisely, freedom and comfort before he can answer. Zephyr trots over, his youthful energy already returning after a night of rest and reunion with his mother. "Are you feeling better?" the FO asks, strong enough. Obsidian answers curtly, "Will you stay with us now?" Zephyr persists, "You could be part of our herd." Obsidian's gaze lifts to the horizon. "I don't belong in a herd, little one. You belong with me." Zephyr points out with the simple logic of youth. "You protected me, taught me." Willow approaches, overhearing the conversation. "My son is right," she says softly. "You risked everything to save him, to help me find him. That's what a herd does, protect its own." "I'm not one of your own." Obsidian replies, though with less conviction than before. Atlas joins him, his presence commanding respect, but not fear. "You fought beside us against the wolves," he states, "bled with us. That makes you one of us. If you choose to be for the first time in years." Obsidian faces a choice he never expected to have: to remain solitary, as he has since his escape from captivity, or to accept a place in the community with all its complications and compromises before he can respond. A distant sound catches their attention, the rhythmic thump of helicopter blades. The Mustangs grow instantly alert ears, forward bodies tensing humans, Atlas warns. Metal birds, Willow nudges Zephyr protectively. Why are they here? Obsidian's expression darkens with recognition. It's starting, he says grimly. The gathering, what gathering Atlas demands. When the land grows dry, when water becomes scarce, the humans come with their flying machines. Obsidian explains they chase the herds, capture them, reduce their numbers. A roundup Irish translates, old enough to have witnessed them before the humans believe there are two. Many of us are the land to feed. Fear ripples through the herd as a helicopter sound grows louder. Even Atlas, brave and strong, shows concern in his eyes. What do we do? Willow asks, pressing closer to Zephyr. All eyes turn to Obsidian, whose experiences with humans suddenly make him the most valuable member of the herd. We have two options, he states: run and be chased until they catch us, or what Atlas prompts. Obsidian's gaze fixes on the distant mountains to the north. Or we go where they can't follow. The helicopter appears over the ridge, a mechanical insect against the clear blue sky. Inside, pilot Charlie Blackwood banks slightly, giving BLM field manager David Miller a better view of the Mustang. Herd below, I count approximately 40 horses. David speaks into his headset. That matches our last survey. They've spotted us, Charlie observes, as the Mustangs below begin to move. Want to start pushing them toward the holding area. David checks his GPS coordinates. No, we're just doing reconnaissance today. The roundup doesn't officially start until tomorrow. He frowns, noticing something unusual. Hold up, that black stallion at the rear. Isn't it the loner, the one they call Obsidian? Charlie adjusts his sunglasses, peering down. Sure, looks like him. Strange to see him with a herd in the meadow below. Obsidian watches a helicopter wearily. Unlike the other Mustangs, he doesn't panic. He's seen these fly machines before, knows their purpose and capabilities. They're just watching today. He tells Atlas the Rayall chase will come tomorrow. How can you be sure? The herd leader asks their pattern. They're flying too high, not trying to drive us. They're counting, planning. Obsidian's eyes narrow. It gives us time to move. Atlas considers this as leader. The herd's safety is his responsibility, but he's never faced a large-scale roundup before. Where will we go? The helicopter can follow anywhere, not anywhere. Obsidian counters. There are places in the White Pine Mountains where the canyons are too narrow, the terrain too dangerous. They can't fly there. My FO can't navigate difficult mountain terrain. Willow objects, nosing Zephyr protectively. He's stronger than you think. Obsidian replies, meeting Zephyr's gaze. He survived wolves, a mountain lion, and captivity. He can handle mountains. Zephyr stands taller at the stallion's words, pride straightening his small frame. I can do it. Mother Obsidian taught me to be brave. Iris, the elderly mare, steps forward. I know the canyons. He speaks of my mother's herd used them to escape the great roundup 30 years ago. But the journey is treacherous, steep trails, limited water, more treacherous than captivity. Obsidian challenges than separation, than having your spirit broken by humans. His words hang in the air, weighted with his personal experience. The herd shifts, uncomfortably torn between the known dangers of their current situation and the unknown risks of Obsidian's proposal. Atlas makes his decision. We leave at dusk. Eris will guide us to these canyons. He fixes Obsidian with a steady gaze. He'll take rear position with me. The foes and weaker Maras in the center. It's not just a practical arrangement, but a significant gesture, accepting Obsidian as a co-protector of the herd, almost an equal to the lead stallion himself. The helicopter makes one more pass before turning back towards Silver Springs. Inside, David Miller makes notes on his tablet. We'll need more wranglers than planned. He tells Charlie that herd looks ready to bolt, and they've got some smart leadership now. Back at the Mustang monitoring station, Ranger Matthew reviews the helicopter's footage with Dr. Isabella. The black stallion has integrated with Atlas's herd. Isabella notes with astonishment that contradicts everything in his behavioral profile. And look who's right beside him. Matthew points to the screen. That's Willow and her FO, the one the walkers briefly had in captivity. Isabella shakes her head in amazement. So Obsidian helped rescue the FO, return him to his mother, and now they're all together. That's unprecedented behavior for a solitary stallion. Maybe we don't know as much about Mustang social structures as we thought. Matthew suggests still doesn't solve our immediate problem. Isabella sighs. The drought is getting worse. The latest projections show another month without significant rainfall. We need to reduce grazing pressure on the ecosystem. I know Matthew agrees reluctantly, but maybe we could be more selective about which horses we remove. That FO and his mother have earned a chance to stay wild. Don't you think? Evening approaches, casting long shadows across the valley of Harmon Ranch. Haley Walker helps her father secure the cattle in the lower pastures. Rangers say the Mustang roundup starts tomorrow. George mentions latching the gate They are expecting the herds to move into the high country tonight. Is that unusual? Haley asks, smart as what it is. Her father replies those horses know what helicopters mean. Now, each generation seems to get wilier about avoiding capture, like that if Haley observes the one that got rescued by his own kind. George chuckles. That was something special Ryan's still talking about. It says he's never seen anything like it in all his years of Mustang. Training, do you think he's back with his mother now? The little one rangers think. So George confirms trail cameras caught images of them together heading north with one of the larger herds. I smile, softly good, that's where he belongs. As dusk settles over the mountains, Atlas's herd begins their journey. They move silently through the gathering darkness, the stronger horses setting a pace that the foes and older members can maintain. Iris takes the lead, her memory of the old escape route still sharp despite her years obsidian, and Atlas hold the rear position, as agreed, watchful for any signs of pursuit. Willow and Zephyr travel in the safer middle section, though the young FO constantly looks back, seeking glimpses of his black-coated protector. Will the wolves follow us? Zephyr asks his mother, doubtful. Willow answers, even Rogue isn't foolish enough to challenge a united herd this size. Indeed, the wolf pack has other concerns tonight. The same drought driving the Mustang roundup has depleted their normal prey animals. While Rogue might desire revenge against Obsidian, survival takes precedence. The wolves hunt near the valley's western edge, far from the Mustang's northern route. But another danger awaits the herd, one that neither Obsidian nor Atlas has anticipated. The drought hasn't just affected water levels and grazing, it's turned the forest into a tinderbox with dead undergrowth and stressed trees, creating perfect fire conditions. Days of relentless sun have baked moisture from the soil, while lightning strikes from dry thunderstorms have ignited several small blazes in remote areas. One such fire smolders in the foothills of White Pine Mountains, directly in the path of the migrating Mustangs. At the ranger station, alarms sound as satellite heat sensors detect the growing hotspot. Matthew Johnson rushes to the communications center, where feeds from fire monitoring cameras display the situation. How big, he demands of the overnight technician. Started small, but it's growing fast with the evening winds. The technician reports currently about 30 acres spreading northeast. That's right in the path of the Mustang migration. Matthew realizes with growing concern they're heading straight for it. Forestry Service is deploying initial attack teams, the technician informs him, but with resources stretched thin from the California fires, Matthew is already dialing Isabella's number. We need to redirect that herd, he tells her when she answers the BLM roundup. Maybe their best chance of survival now in the mountains. The Mustangs continue their night journey, unaware of the danger ahead. Zephyr trots beside his mother, his legs tired, but his spirit determined. The rigors of his recent adventures have strengthened him beyond his years, just as Obsidian predicted. Mother, do you smell something strange? He asks, lifting his nose to the breeze. Willow pauses, testing the air smoke. She confirms, alarm rising in her voice. The word passes quickly through the herd. Iris halts at the front, turning to Atlas for direction. The lead stallion moves forward to assess the situation. Obsidian keeping pace beside him from a rocky outcrop. They can see the orange glow in the distance, a malevolent presence in the night. Landscape fire blocks our path to the canyons. Atlas states grimly, winds pushing it northeast. Obsidian observes, toward us, we can't outrun it uphill. Then we go back. Atlas questions face the roundup. Instead, Obsidian surveys the terrain, calculating there's another way east through Red Rock Canyon. It's longer, more exposed, but it bypasses the fire. Red Rock has limited water, Atlas counters, and it's close to wolf territory. Better than burning. Obsidian responds bluntly, or captivity. The two stallions lock eyes, a moment of silent communication passing between them. Then Atlas nods, accepting Obsidian's judgment. East it is, he decides, through Red Rock Canyon. The herd changes direction, cutting across the mountainside toward the eastern ridge. Time is against them now, with the fire growing and the roundup plan for morning. They move as swiftly as the youngest FO can manage. The smell of smoke growing stronger in their nostrils. At the BLM field office in Silver Springs, David Miller receives the fire alert with grave concern. This complicates the roundup significantly, he tells his team during an emergency briefing, but also creates an opportunity. The fire will likely push the herd south, away from their mountain refuge and into more accessible terrain. Are we still proceeding tomorrow? A wrangler asks. Absolutely, David confirms. In fact, this may help thin the herds. Naturally, as harsh as it sounds, wildfire is a normal part of the ecosystem management. What about the black stallions? Herd Charlie, the helicopter pilot, questions. They were Heading straight for the burn area, we'll focus our efforts there, David decides, not just for Mustang's sake, but because that's the most valuable bloodline. Genetically, dawn breaks over the mountains, revealing columns of smoke rising from the fire zone. The Mustang herd has traveled through the night, making good progress toward Red Rock Canyon. Despite their fatigue, they pause at a small spring to drink the water precious in the drought-stricken landscape. Zifa stays close to Obsidian during the brief rest, drawn to the stallion's calm strength. Are we going to outrun the fire? The FO asks if we're going to outthink it. Obsidian replies the fire follows the wind, climbs uphill. We're moving across its path, not ahead of it. Zephyr considers this like when you taught me to cross the stream at the shallow part, not try to jump the deep section. Exactly. Obsidian nods a hint of pride in his voice. You remember your lessons? Well, Willow approaches, regarding them both with newfound appreciation. You've been good for him, she tells Obsidian. Quietly, he's stronger. Because of you, the Black Stallion shifts uncomfortably under appraise. After years of solitude, genuine connection remains unfamiliar territory for him. But before he can respond, Atlas gives a signal to move on their respite. It is over the entrance to Red Rock Canyon, appears before them a narrow passage between towering sandstone cliffs the formation earned its name from. The rich red hue of its stone now glowing in the morning sunlight. While beautiful, the canyon presents new challenges: limited escape routes, scarce vegetation, and unpredictable water sources. Stay close together, Atlas instructs the herd. Foss in the center, strongest horses on the edges. They enter single file, hooves clattering on the stone floor of the canyon. The high walls provide shelter from the wind, but also trap heat, making the already warm morning uncomfortably hot. Several miles behind them, the helicopter takes off from the temporary base camp established for the Roundup Charlie Blackwood Banks. Sharply heading toward the last known location of Atlas's herd, David Miller and two spotters scan the landscape below. No sign of them in the valley. A spotter reports through the headset. They must have moved during the night. The fire would push them east, David theorizes. Check Red Rock Canyon. The helicopter changes course, the rhythmic thud of its rotors carrying faintly to the Mustangs already deep within the canyon. Obsidian's ears flick back, catching the sound before the others' humans. He warns Atlas. A flying machine approaches. The lead stallion nods grimly. Keep moving, the canyon narrows ahead. They can't follow us all the way through. The herd quickens their pace, pushing deeper into the rocky corridor. Young Foss struggle to keep up, including several younger than Zephyr. Willow drops back to encourage them, nudging the stragglers forward. Stay with the herd, she urges the tired youngsters. Safety comes in numbers. A helicopter appears at the canyon entrance, hovering as the crew assesses the situation. There, David confirms, spotting the dust from the retreating herd. But this is tricky territory for herring. The canyon's too narrow for safe flying in some sections. I can push them from behind for a while. Charlie suggests drive them back toward the open valley. Do it, David decides. Carefully, the helicopter moves forward, maintaining a safe height above the canyon, but creating enough noise and downdraft to frighten the Mustangs from behind. The strategy works. Panic spreads through the rear of the herd, horses pushing forward to escape the mechanical predator. Atlas and Obsidian exchange concerned glances. The increasing pressure from behind could cause a dangerous stampede in the confined space, potentially injuring the FO or weaker members. We need to split their attention. Obsidian suggests give the main herd time to reach the narrower section. Atlas immediately understands the diversion. I'll double back. Obsidian volunteers, draw the helicopter away. You lead the others through to safety. That's too dangerous. Atlas objects. They could capture you. They've tried before. Obsidian responds with grim humor. I'm still here. Without waiting for further discussion, he breaks from a herd, turning to run back along the canyon wall. His black coat stands out starkly against the red stone, immediately catching the attention of the helicopter crew. The Black Stallions, broken away. The spotter alerts David. He's heading back toward us. Interesting, David muses. Is he running from a herd or trying to draw us off? He makes a quick decision. Follow him. He's a primary genetic specimen we want anyway. The helicopter turns, following Obsidian instead of pushing the main herd. The stallion's diversion works exactly as planned, giving Atlas and the others precious time to reach the safety of the narrower canyon sections ahead. Zifa watches in horror as Obsidian disappears behind them. The helicopter in pursuit. He's coming back, right? He asks his mother anxiously. I hope so. Willow answers honestly. He's very brave and very smart, but he's all alone. Zifa worries Iris. Overhearing, adds gently, sometimes one must sacrifice for many. It's the way of the herd. Atlas leads them on with the canyon walls drawing closer together. Soon they reach a section where the passage narrows to barely 20 feet wide, with sheer cliffs rising hundreds of feet on either side the helicopter cannot safely follow here. Obsidian's plan has worked. The herd continues to the narrow passage, emerging into a wider section of the canyon, where a small spring provides welcome relief. Meanwhile, Obsidian leads the helicopter on a dangerous chase, doubling back through the canyon's wider sections before breaking for open ground. His knowledge of the terrain gives him an advantage. He knows exactly where to run, which slopes are navigable, which dead ends to avoid. He's tried to lose us in the rough country, Charlie observes, keeping the helicopter at a safe distance above the fleeing stallion. He's not running randomly, David notes with professional admiration. He's using strategy. Look how he stays just visible, enough to keep us following, but never in a position where we could push him toward the capture teams. The chase continues for nearly an hour, Obsidian gradually leading the helicopter further from the herd's escape route. When he's certain they're safe, he makes his final move, a seemingly reckless charge up a steep, rocky slope where the helicopter cannot safely descend. I'm losing visual, Charlie reports as Obsidian disappears into a stand of pine trees. Circle back, David orders reluctantly. We've wasted enough fuel on him. Let's see if we can pick up the main herd again. But by the time they return to Red Rock Canyon, Atlas has led the Mustangs through the narrowest section and into the network of smaller canyons beyond territory, where the helicopter's effectiveness is severely limited. In a sheltered box canyon with access to water, the herd finally stops to rest. Zephyr paces anxiously, continually looking back the way they came. He should have caught up to us by now, he frets to his mother. Obsidian knows these mountains better than any of us, Willow reassures him, though her own eyes betray concern. If anyone can evade the flying machines, it's him. Atlas approaches his expressions somber. We'll wait here until sunset. If he doesn't return by then, we must continue to high country. We can't leave without him. Zeph protests. A herd survives by protecting the many young one, Atlas explains gently. Obsidian understood that when he turned back. The day passes with agonizing slowness. The fire to the west has grown, sending columns of smoke into the sky. The helicopter makes occasional passes over the broader canyon areas, but doesn't discover their hiding place as the sun begins to set, casting long shadows through the canyon. Atlas makes the difficult decision. We must move on. He announces to the herd the fire spreads and night travel is safer from the humans just a little longer. Zephyr begs, his young voice breaking with emotion. Willow nuzzles her FO sympathetically. Atlas is right. We need to reach safety before the fire cuts off more roots. Just as the herd begins to gather for departure, a sound echoes through the canyon. Hoofbeats approaching fast. Everyone freezes, alert for danger. Then over a small rise, a familiar dark shape appears silhouetted against the evening sky. Obsidian. Zephyr cries out joyfully, rushing forward before his mother can stop him. The black stallion slows his pace, clearly exhausted from his ordeal. His coat is there with sweat, his breathing labored, but he's otherwise unharmed. The FO reaches him first, practically dancing with excitement. You came back. I knew you would. Obsidian regards the young horse with what almost resembles affection. I said I would teach you to survive. That lesson isn't finished yet. Atlas approaches, genuine respect his bearing. That was a brave thing you did. The herd won't forget. Willow adds her own quiet thanks, touching her muzzle briefly to Obsidian's neck. The gesture simple but intimate speaks volumes about the bond forming between them. The helicopter, Atlas inquires return to their base for the night. Obsidian reports, but they'll be back at dawn with more machines, more humans, and the fire growing. Moving northeast, our path to the high valleys is narrowing. Atlas nods grimly. Then we have no time to waste. Can you travel? I've endured worse. Obsidian answers simply. As night falls fully over the canyons, the herd moves out, continuing their journey toward the remote mountain valleys that might offer sanctuary from both fire and humans. Zephyr stays close to both his mother and Obsidian, now no longer forced to choose between the men. The darkness moving as one across the ancient landscape. The Mustangs demonstrate the same resilience that has allowed their kind to survive for centuries, adapting, enduring, and finding strength and unity against whatever challenges nature and humanity place in their path. Dawn bathes the mountains in golden light, revealing a landscape transformed by fire and drought. Smoke hangs in the valleys like morning mist, while the scent of burning pine carries on. The wind Atlas's herd has traveled through the night, reaching a high alpine meadow where sparse grass and a small spring provide minimal sustenance. Zephyr collapses beside his mother, exhausted from a grueling journey. His small body has been pushed to its limits, yet his spirit remains unbroken. Nearby, Obsidian stands at the edge of the meadow, surveying their surroundings with vigilant eyes. Will the fire reach us here? Zephyr asks, voicing the fear that weighs on everyone's mind. Fire rarely climbs as high. Obsidian answers the vegetation is too sparse, the air too thin. Atlas joins them as once proud frame, showing signs of the difficult journey. The real question is how long we can survive here. There's little grazing, barely enough water, better hungry. Then captive Obsidian counters. For how long, Willow interjects concern for her, evident in her voice. Zephyr needs proper nourishment to grow strong. The dilemma facing the herd is stark safety from humans, and fire comes at the cost of potential starvation. Even Obsidian, with all his wilderness knowledge, can't conjure food and water. Where none exists miles below in Silver Springs, the BLM Command Center buzzes with activity. David Miller studies the latest satellite imagery, showing the fire spread and the probable location of the escaped Mustangs. They've backed themselves into a corner. He tells Charlie Blackwood that High Meadow has no outlet except back the way they came. Smart move for avoiding the roundup. Charlie observes not so smart for long-term survival. Nature will force their hand. Eventually, David agrees. When the grazing runs out, they'll have to descend. We'll be waiting. Ranger Matthew and Dr. Isabella arrive for the morning briefing, both looking concerned. After a night monitoring the fire spread, the containment teams have the southern flank under control, Matthew reports, but the northern edge is still advancing toward White Pine Mountains. Any wildlife casualties? David asks. Some deer and smaller mammals, Isabella answers solemnly, but most larger species seem to be staying ahead of it. The Mustangs made the right call heading for higher ground, though we're concerned about their access to water. Matthew adds, the drought has dried up most of the high country springs. They can't stay up there indefinitely. David nods thoughtfully. So we wait. The roundup could be postponed a few days. Fire management takes priority. Anyway, in the hills below the Alpine Meadow, Rogue leads his wolf pack on a hunt. The fire has driven game animals from their usual territories, creating both challenges and opportunities for predators. While some prey has become more vulnerable in unfamiliar terrain, competition from other predators has increased. The smoke confuses the scent trails. Flint complains struggling to track a deer herd they've been following adapt. Rogue growls simply. A scarred face turns upward toward the High Meadow, where he knows the Mustangs have retreated. His attention hasn't wavered from Obsidian, despite the more immediate concerns of feeding his pack. Lyra, ever practical, nudges her mate. The horses are out of reach. We need to focus on prey. We can actually catch. Rogue reluctantly turns away. Revenge is a luxury when survival hangs in the balance, but his memory is long, and wolves are patient hunters. Back in the Alpine Meadow, the herd grazes on what little vegetation remains. Iris, the elderly mare, shows Zephyr which plants offer the most nutrition, passing on knowledge accumulated through her long life. Even the toughest grasses have tender hearts. If you know where to bite, she explains, demonstrating the technique. Zephyr attempts to mimic her. His teeth, not yet fully developed for efficient grazing. Nearby, Obsidian watches with what might almost be described as pride. The foe's determination reminds him of himself at a younger age before humans in captivity hardened his spirit. Atlas approaches Obsidian, moving with the careful dignity of a leader addressing an equal. We need to discuss our options. He begins without preamble. The meadow can't sustain us for more than a few days. I know, Obsidian acknowledges. I've been studying the western ridge. There might be a path that skirts the fire zone, leads to better grazing, more risk of human detection. Too, Atlas points out everything is a trade-off. Obsidian responds, freedom or safety, food or concealment. Their conversation is interrupted by Comet, one of the younger stallions who have been scouting the perimeter. He gallops in the meadow, his manner urgent. Smoke in the eastern valley is thickening, he reports, and I spotted the fly machines circling the lower slopes. Atlas digests this news grimly. They're patient, waiting for hunger to drive us down and the fire to drive us out. Obsidian adds, we're being squeezed between two dangers. A herd gathers as the two stallions share the situation, each horse sensing the gravity of their predicament. There are no easy answers, no clear path to safety. Could we split up? Suggests one of the younger mays. Smaller groups might find paths through that a large herd couldn't take. Strength in numbers, Atlas counters, especially with wolves in the area. What about surrendering to the roundup? Lily proposes hesitantly. At least there'll be food, water, and captivity. Obsidian interjects sharply, separation, breaking you've never experienced. I have. Willow steps forward, her gaze moving between Atlas and Obsidian. What about the eastern canyon, the one that leads to Clearwater Valley? It's outside the normal Mustang range, but in this drought too close to human settlements. Atlas begins, but Obsidian interrupts. Actually, that might work. The black stallion considers the humans wouldn't expect us to head toward their territory rather than away from it, and the creek there rarely runs dry even in drought. But the risks, Atlas protests, are everywhere. Obsidian completes the thought. We choose which risks.